Now, this week, we finally lost the battle to control how much our politicians can spend in a single election. The National Assembly on Tuesday rejected in toto the attempts by the electoral body IEBC to put a cap on election spending. The MPs hid behind technicalities like the timing of the campaign financing regulations and other incomprehensible tales. And now it is clear that we will go to the 2022 general election under the same free-for-all environment where those who win elections will simply be those who can afford it. Now, a recent survey by regional governance think tank South Consulting Africa Limited returned some sobering findings on this very question. Now, according to the study conducted by Kenyan scholars Professor Karuti Kanyinga and Tom Boyer, candidates who were elected to the National Assembly in 2017 spent an average of 18.2 million shillings in their campaigns. Successful Senate candidates had to part with an average of 35 million shillings for their campaigns, while those running as MCAs spent about 3 million shillings to win their seats. Interestingly, the survey found that most of the expenditure was incurred during the party primaries. In fact, senators spent an average of 19.2 million shillings just to win the party ticket, way more than the 16.3 million they spent eventually in the actual election campaign. But more worryingly, the survey found that those who spent the most money tended to win. Senators who won the election, for instance, spent 2 times more than their opponents who lost the election. Women candidates, on the other hand, needed to outspend their opponents by up to 3 times to win an election. Shockingly, the amount of money spent in campaigns, according to this survey, was nearly 2.5 times the annual salary of the candidates. And after the election, the survey found an MP, for instance, spent an average of 780,000 shillings every month responding to various personal needs of constituents. Now, this is in fact more than their basic salary. Here then is my question, ladies and gentlemen. Why would an MP, for example, spend more than twice their annual salary just to get elected? Why would they spend more than their basic salary every month responding to constituents' needs? Just where do they get the money from? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking, but it's so clear to me that there is more to these positions than just serving the people. There is definitely more return on investment in these roles than just the salary we pay these elected leaders. No wonder they would never want us to know how they get their campaign money, how much of it they use, and I dare say, how they recover it afterwards. After all, why else would they oppose such noble regulations from the IEBC that mirror best practice around the world? But all said and done, we have a broken system. Let's admit it. Our election happens in an environment where no one cares how much a candidate spends and no one gets punished for going overboard. Moreover, the benefits of being elected are so enormous that a candidate would spend their entire life savings knowing full well that a quick recovery is guaranteed once they get into office. Then there is the voter, who keeps placing all these demands for handouts on the elected leaders. But this is not just a harmless game. This system, ladies and gentlemen, has real casualties. You see, when running for office is this expensive, it means that many capable candidates who have no access to big money cannot be elected. Instead, the door is open for every crook who can afford to spend any amount, many times because they stole the money in the first place. Further, a majority of those who are elected shamelessly and almost unapologetically use their offices to wield influence and feed the ever-thriving corruption networks that jump from one regime to another. And you and I are all the worse for it. So tonight I mourn the fact that once again we have no rules, that once again these politicians will get money from anywhere and use whatever amount to corrupt the election system. That once again we will cheer them and wait for them on the roadside for a 50-shilling handout, or should I call it bribe. And once again, they will be smiling all the way to the bank just days after getting sworn in. And once again, we'll behave as if we didn't know better. Fellow Kenyans, forewarned is forearmed. That is my angle for the week.